Welcome to the session on breaking the pain-stress loop, a medication-free path to relief. Dr. Njideka Olatunde will join us for this session. She is a master reflexologist and naturopathic practitioner and the founder of Focus on Healing Wellness Institute. Her work bridges pain relief, stress, and emotional well-being through hands-on care that treats the whole person, not just the symptoms. She brings a deeply practical, compassionate perspective to healing that empowers individuals and the families as well. Welcome, Njideka. How are you today?
Doing wonderful, and it's an honor and a privilege to be here supporting you in this summit and being able to share all the information to the listeners.
Well, this is such an important topic, and you and I have talked about this before, especially with the opioid pandemic that we've experienced. And I really think that there are not too many people out there that have not had some kind of a negative outcome from that on some level. So let's get started. Many people, Njideka, they experience pain and stress at the same time, but they don't always connect the two. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a real important issue in terms of overall health and wellness, specifically if you're going to focus on relieving pain, because pain and stress go hand in hand. You don't have stress without pain, and you don't have pain without stress. But the combination, the missing piece to that is understanding the pain-stress connection and connecting it with the mind-spirit connection in terms of integrating the holistic healthcare approach.
So in your work, what patterns have you noticed between how pressure shows up and then how the physical pain shows up?
Okay, one of the things that is not really considered, whenever you are experiencing pain, it's usually a result of stress. We know that stress is classified as 95% of all health challenges is caused by stress. But how do you get the stress to create the health problem comes from something that's happening outside of your body that you bring inside your body. And if you don't let it go, it begins to harbor. And when it harbors inside your body, it starts creating pain. And usually I address that from the fact that when I'm working with my clients as it relates to dealing with pain and stress, it's very important to get them to understand and go back to that particular situation that is the contributor of the pain that they're now experiencing. And the way you do that is being able, as a practitioner, being able to listen. And once that's like the first line of putting the healing process in place.
Okay, so in my history of working in healthcare, when someone comes in pain, the main focus is usually on diagnosing or treating it first, or sometimes it's even prioritizing helping others feel better right away, which many times is writing a prescription. So in your practice, when someone walks in hurting, what do you see as the most important when you first meet them?
The first thing I understand is the reason you're coming to me is because you're in pain. And because you're in pain, the one thing you want more than anything is relief. And so what I do, I have incorporated what's known as touchology and reflexology. Now, touchology is my first approach when someone comes to me in pain. And what that is I'm going to let them talk to me about all that's going on. And because people really want to be able to unleash the stress that's affecting them mentally and emotionally. So what I do, and I call that the first point of relieving pain begins with touch. And the first form of touch is listening. Because as I'm listening while they're talking, the one thing I'm listening for is what is the stress factor. I want to hear them tell me about the stress factor. As I'm listening, they are listening to themselves as well. Now I know what is a contributor to why they're in pain, which means that I am focusing on relieving pain first before treatment. But before I can get to the treatment, the pain relief becomes the reflexology. That's what I use as, because now you're open and receptive. And what I'm doing with the reflexology is helping the body to relax, helping the body to release toxins and impurities, helping the body to bring balance. Now the client is more apt to want to be able to move into treatment. And treatment may be a combination of many different things because we're talking about integration, because there's no one therapy that does it all. And so me listening as for stress factors, does that mean that you need some rest? Does that mean that you may need to be referred to a massage therapist because we're looking at muscle problems? Or do you need to go to an acupuncture or chiropractor? Or do you need to change diet? Do you need a cleansing? It's about all of these things that can be contributors to why you're in pain because of the stress that triggered it.
So when people hear healing touch, usually the first thing they're going to think about is the body, a hands-on type of thing. And you've mentioned a couple of different modalities there. In your experience, how do the emotion, beliefs, and a person's support systems influence that pain?
Plays a big role. And I say that because one of the things that we all have to understand is that touch is both mental, physical, and emotional, spiritual, and even financial. It deals with touch. And touch is something that people don't understand because just like you said, it's something physical. Is how when we think of touch, it's always got to be something physical. Here's an example I can share to tie into the question that you asked. Think about someone who's feeling really bad, and all of a sudden, all you did was smile at them, and that uplifted them. That's a form of touch that's healing. All of a sudden, you may be in a hurry and in a rush, and someone opens the door for you, and you happen to say, thank you. And that made that person's day. That's a form of healing. Another big one that we never think about, if you live in a big major city and you're driving on the highway and you got to get over and nobody's letting you over and you're trying to squeeze it, and all of a sudden somebody puts on their brakes and give you enough space, and you raise your hand to them in a way of saying thank you, that may have made that person's day. That's a form of touch that's healing. And once we understand that interconnection, because see, the touch is not isolated, it's connecting you. It's a connection. It's a healing connection. And I think that once we understand how we're all connected in each other's healing process, and I'm really big on specifically when we talk about it from a family perspective. When someone is ill in the family, the whole family is ill. And we don't realize that because it's a family connection. It's very important to understand that when one family member is going through it, the whole family is, and the whole family has to participate in the healing process. That's the interconnection.
Wow, that's so important to pull all of those threads together and weave them. So, Njideka, these days, many more people are really searching for pain relief options that don't rely on the medications. What do you think most people misunderstand about the non-pharmaceutical pain relief, and what tends to surprise them once they give it a try?
One of the things that people have to understand, and I kind of tie that into when I use reflexology as an example to kind of explain it. when you're dealing with pain, you also have to understand the system of the body that is the communication, is the nervous system. And if you understand the nervous system and how the nerve endings throughout your body are connected to the major communication center of the body, which is the brain. And so when you're dealing with pain, it's the nerve endings that send the messages from that organ to the brain that there's trauma, there's stress, there's discomfort. And so when that happens, the brain then sends the message back through the nervings to that particular organ or that system, releasing the body's natural pain relievers known as endorphins. So what we have to understand is the body already has its built-in pain reliever. But a lot of times when you're dealing with from the medication perspective, it numbs the nerve endings so you don't feel the pain, but it has not addressed the cause of the pain problem. So what happens? After it wears off, the pain comes back again. And so you're back into taking medication to numb the nervings instead of letting the nervings release the message to the brain that we need some relief here, send it. And with that relief, now you can start looking at what is it I need to do to improve the system, to assist the body. Let me work with my practitioner in assisting the body in the healing process to move to relieving the health challenge.
Gosh, thank you for that explanation. That really helped connect a lot of dots about what's happening sort of in the background. So when it comes to reflexology, what would you say to the skeptic?
Skeptic in terms of what because excuse me, like with any process, the healing begins with your belief, which means we got to look at your mindset. And the belief has to come from trust. And the trust and the belief connected together begins with you. So for someone who's skeptic, we have to look at what is the reasoning behind the lack of belief and the lack of trust. Because no matter what system you use, no matter what therapy you use, no matter what medication you receive, nothing works until you have a belief in it and you trust it, because that's inside you. You are the corporate that brings the healing that you desire. And so that's the whole process. So if you're skeptical, what we have to look at is what's going on with you. Are you comfortable with that pain? Are you comfortable with that diagnosis? Or you ready to take a step and do some changes? And we have to be supportive with each other in that. It's not a judgment statement. It's not devaluing. It's about understanding and accepting where you are. And that begins the process.
That's so beautiful. And I think that that's a missing step many of the times. I love your awareness with that and bringing that out in a way to give people a moment to ponder that. In your experience, what's the difference you see between people who are passive recipients of their care versus people who are actively participating in the healing process? I feel like we see a lot of passive people who are asking for help.
I like that question. I'll sum it up in terms of how I address my client. Number one, I usually tell them, you have to understand your body. And by understanding your body, what I'm saying is, how do you define your body? Do you define your body as a temple or do you find your body as a warehouse? Now, if you define your body as a temple, you see it as something sacred, something special, something valuable, something that I cherish. If you see your body as a warehouse, that's just, I just store stuff here, I put it there, whatever happens, it's there. It's a storage shit. So when we look at the person who's active, that would be the one who sees their body as a temple. The person who's passive is the one who sees their body as a warehouse. So what you do, it deals with how you value yourself. Because, and let me kind of qualify that for understanding. We have a habit that when we are in ill health or facing a challenge and we take ourselves to the doctor, we put that burden on the doctor to be about healing and relieving us. And what we're doing is we're taking our body to the doctor like we take our automobile to the mechanic. When the car breaks down and it has this problem, engine light or whatever, we go into the mechanic, we say, okay, my engine light is on or I'm feeling vibrations. And what happens is the mechanic is mechanically trained to address that concern that you say to them. So they know exactly what they should be looking for. You can't carry your body into the doctor and say, my back is hurting, and expect the doctor to automatically know what it is to do. What we have to do now is understand that we are in partnership with our practitioners. It's a two-way street. A practitioner's role is not as a healer, but to assist the body in the healing process, working with you. We go hand in hand. We're working together collectively and cooperatively, which allows you to play a role in your healing process, because only you can do that. It's about you.
Wow, that's huge. And I love the analogy with the car. Like, that really drives it home. Njideka, are you able to provide a demonstration of a simple technique or tool now for the audience out there?
Would love to. Thank you. One of the things that I tell everyone, I'm going to share with you a reflexology technique. Reflexology is designed to relieve pain and stress. And so if you're feeling a real stressful moment, your hands. And so what you want is your hands and your thumb. And you do use your thumb in what's known as a walking movement. It's a bending of the thumb up and down. You place your thumb on the palm of your hand and you're walking from your wrist across your finger, going all the way to the base of your fingers. And then you go back. And on the back side of your hand, your fingers are walking just at the same time your thumb is walking. And what this does, it activates all of the nerve endings inside your body. If you're feeling pain, if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling stressed, just get a habit, get a practice of walking the palm of your hands. Because let me tell you what that is. A real basic example. Everybody knows how to do reflexology and don't know. Everybody has experienced reflexology and don't know that they have. Here's how. If you are a parent, or if you remember back when you were a child and your parent did what's called this little piggy, and they were turning all of the toes, because all of the nerve endings to your head are in your fingers and your toes. So when they were turning your toes and you were just so happy and all of a sudden you start calming down and all of that, that's activating the nerve endings to bring calmness, to bring relief. And you could do the same thing on your fingers. Just take your thumb and walk up and down your fingers. Walk the palm of your hand and then start walking your fingers. And don't forget to do one thing with this also. Deep breathe. Take some deep breaths as you're doing this. So in the meantime, you're calming yourself down as the brain is sending endorphins throughout the area of your body to bring about relief.
Well, those all seem so simple and easy, and we can do them literally in any environment without anyone noticing that. Thank you so much for sharing that simple tool that is so powerful. I love the little piggy thing, and you're right. Kids truly react to that in such a positive way. I would have not connected that to actually a therapeutic act. So that's very cool. Thank you. What's hard to believe is that our time's up already. You are just a wealth of information, and we probably could talk for another hour, but I want to thank you for bringing so much clarity, compassion, and practicality to this particular conversation. So many people desperately really need this right now. Your work reminds us that pain is not just something to fight or fix, but something that needs to be listened to. I think that was one of the biggest messages I got and understood and then gently shifted. I'm deeply grateful for the wisdom that you shared and for the hope that you offered to individuals, families, and communities seeking relief. To learn more about Njideka and her work, you can go to her website, focusonhealing.com. Thank you again, Njideka, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having, and my closing word to everybody is to always remember that the power of touch heals all.